So my name is Mathew Kiziuk. I work for Group Renault and I'm the Regional EV Development Manager for the North of England. Basically, if it's anything to do with an EV, north of Birmingham, it falls on my head. So hence why I've been asked to come along today and help out. Now, when we get moving, here we go. Brilliant. I was told that I've got 15 minutes to talk to you about EVs. The problem is I can talk for hours, particularly on this subject. So what I wanted to do was make this a bit easier for everyone, and I'm going to split this down into two main categories. That is the environment and money, because one of those is usually a key driver for most people when it comes to EVs. So starting out with the environment, I just want to throw some myths out there and get them done and dusted really quickly. If anyone wants to dispute these myths or talk about these myths, please feel free after the main webinar has finished. But all I say to you at this point is greater minds than mine can tell us that renewable electricity is more and more so in use nowadays. In fact, I think we've just about managed 2 months without using any fossil fuels at all until someone decided to throw the switch on and burn a bit of coal. No matter what way you look at it, overall, and including all the construction of the vehicle, construction of the battery, and then your day-to-day running and CO2 emissions, electric vehicles are cleaner than petrol or diesel vehicles. Batteries are lasting a heck of a lot longer than people originally thought. From our point of view as a manufacturer, we're actually at a 99.6% rate on batteries now at 10 years. So we've only replaced 0.4 of our overall batteries that we've supplied in 10 years. And finally, someone with a really great mind has worked out that electricity and battery power is near enough four times more efficient than hydrogen. So if we're all to go to hydrogen power, we'd actually need 4 times as much electricity in the future. So as I say, if anyone wants to argue or discuss those, please feel free to with me at the end, but that's where I'm coming from on this. So all the information I'm going to give you today, I'm happy to provide sources for. It's all out there. Most of it's from places like the Royal College of Physicians and so on and so forth. But just so you're aware, today, 40 million Britons live amid illegal pollution levels. That's 40 million people that are breathing toxic, carcinogenic air every time they step out of the front room. Just think about that. 36,000 people is the average number of people who die in the UK due to poor air quality. And £42 million was the amount of money spent by the NHS due to poor air quality last year. If we look overall at the environment and our climate, we're all probably seeing the Attenborough thing where we've been told that we've got till 2030 to reduce the effects of global warming. If we carry on the trajectory that we're at today, 1 million species of plants and animals will be extinct by 2050, and 1 billion people will have been displaced by the effects of climate change by 2050. So that's 1 billion people having to move home because of the effects of the weather. As it stands today, we are currently using the planet's natural resources 1.7 times faster than our planet's ecosystem can regenerate them. Not to throw even more nastiness at you, if we look at the worldwide picture, 9 in 10 people in the air breathe polluted air, and 1 in 9 deaths is caused by air pollution, and overall 7 million people every year. And here we are worrying about COVID-19. There's a lot of other non-fatal aspects of it. There's been a rise in asthma and eczema, a reduced lung and cognitive development in children, increased fatigue, hair loss, headaches, eye damage and anxiety. It's been known to reduce fertility. We're seeing localised temperature rises and impacts on crop yields and damage to local ecosystems. So that's what the pollution that we're putting into this planet does. Obviously not all of it's from cars, but the transport segment does make up a large amount of it. So if I look at the Lake District where I live, it's not too bad up here. I'm one of the fortunate ones. I actually breathe clean air, so I'm very thankful for that every single day. But we do see severe spikes up here in the lakes. mainly due to visitors while they're travelling around and visitors getting here. I don't know if you're aware, but the Lake District National Park set a carbon budget for the area, and at the 10-year anniversary of the launch, the budget were 48% behind for the region. One thing that we can make an impact on, though, is what happens with the residents and businesses in this area. And that still makes up 21% of the total CO2 emissions for the lakes. So that's the environment. Why wouldn't you do it? Why are you still driving a petrol or diesel, I always think. But if you're still not convinced after all of that, then let's talk about money. Because if you've not done, if the environment doesn't concern you, I'm sure that the pound in the pocket does. So, whatever way I stack this up for you, I can show you that over its whole life, even though you may spend a bit more up front, or you may pay a bit more in your leasing cost, that you will save money by owning an electric car or van over a petrol or diesel equivalent. So what I want to do is I want to discuss my electric car with you. So I've got a new Zoe, and my Zoe has a WLTP, so government test standard figure of 245 miles per charge. Now that is a government test figure that we have to use. It's not something that the manufacturers make up. What I find is real world, I get about 240 miles in summer and about 190 miles in winter. So that gives me a median figure of 215 miles per charge. My battery size or capacity is 52 kilowatt hours. I'm fortunate enough to have off-street parking and my own charger, and my energy costs me 14 pence per kilowatt. I need 52 kilowatts to fill my battery pack. So effectively, it costs me £7.28 to do 215 miles. Diesel's currently about £1.15 a litre. A good diesel would do probably 50, maybe 60. So therefore, if we worked on 220 miles at 55 miles per gallon, we're looking at £20.97 to do those 220 miles. Therefore, on an average of 8,000 miles per annum, you'd be spending £762 on diesel versus £270 on electric, which gives me an annual saving of just over £491. Let's look at this zero road fund licence. What does that actually mean? So any zero emission car under £40,000 is currently exempt from road fund licence. A good diesel car have emissions at least 101 to 110 grams of CO2. That's an annual road fund licence of £155. Let's assume you keep this car for 3 years. Another total saving there of £465 over 3 years. Less moving parts, no oil, cheaper servicing. Now, what I've done here, I've actually used a petrol car to compare because a petrol car servicing is cheaper than a diesel car servicing. So I've looked at 3 years, 8,000 miles per annum on a Clio and a Zoe. So again, not big miles. Total service cost there, £660 on the Clio versus £571 on the Zoe. Another £90 saving over 3 years. So if we tot all that up, 3 years fuel savings, £1,475. 3 years road fund licence savings, £465. 3 years EV servicing savings, £89. Total saving, just over £2,000. The question I usually ask now, please raise your hands if you'd not like to be £2,000 better off over the next 3 years. Now, there is also one other thing to take into consideration at this point, and that is if the vehicle is a company car. So, an average 20% taxpayer with a Renault Clio diesel would be paying £3,540 benefit in kind over the next 3 years for having the use of that vehicle as a company car. So that's £3,500 in tax over the next 3 years. If that driver switched to a Zoe, he would pay £153.97 benefit in kind over the next 3 years, effectively giving him or herself a £1,128 per year pay rise. So if we add that to the total saved by running the car, the total saved by a 20% tax-paying company car driver over 3 years, 8,000 miles per annum, is nearly £5,500. Now, by anybody's standards, that's a lot of money. So hopefully, that gives you a little bit of information around EVs and around the savings and obviously the environmental benefits of them. I hope that changes some people's minds about them. Thank you for listening. And as I say, we are going to open up for questions shortly. And if anyone does want to question anything in the facts side of things, more than happy to do that later on after the actual presentations are finished. Thanks now.